It's been raining for days, so I'm dying to get a ride in, to get re-energized. While I wait, I'm gonna chase the gray away with a little off-roading in the kitchen. Let me share a secret recipe. Discover an ingredient that fires your imagination. Choose other flavors to match. Find the best way to cook them.
Simple is best.
My secret recipe? Cooking without a recipe.
You can do it too.
On rainy days when I was a kid, my mom's cooking always cheered us up. Now it's my turn to add a little sunshine to my family's day with some warm comfort food. Roast chicken always reminds me of family dinners around the dining room table, and it's the kind of basic dish that's easy to cook without a recipe, adding the special touches that'll make it a comfort food that you and your family can call your own. And of course, regardless of where you get your chicken from, the first thing you have to do to it is clean it off. Give it a good rinse. It's just a smart thing to do with chickens these days. Lots of cold water. Rinse it off well. Now, I mastered roasting chicken when I was a kid. My mom taught me how to do it. And then I became a chef. And I learned a technique for adding flavor to chicken that blew me away. Because let's face it, even on a good day, a chicken is pretty bland. It doesn't have a whole lot of flavor. You've got to add flavor to it, and we routinely do. Sauces, vegetables, herbs, all the various things that we serve with chicken are meant to flavor it. But I've got a better idea. I've got a technique that uses 3 simple ingredients that you have in your own kitchen right now. The first one's easy, water, and the next 2 are even easier, salt and sugar. But not just any salt, we prefer kosher salt. You can find this in every supermarket. It's coarse and granular, which makes it easier to handle in your fingers and sprinkle on the food. And not only that, it tastes like a day at the beach. It's got a beautiful brininess to it. This is good salt. And some white sugar. And now I'm ready to make a brine, something that cooks have done for thousands and thousands of years. It's one of the most basic fundamental things in cooking, the use of salt to preserve and flavor food. And all you have to remember is a simple basic ratio. For every 2 quarts of water, add half a cup of salt and a half a cup of sugar. Now the sugar's optional. The salt makes it a brine. That's what a brine is, salt and water. The sugar's optional though. I add the sugar just to add a little bit more flavor to it. And then you simply soak the chicken in the brine for 1 hour. Nothing to it. And while I wait for this chicken, I've got time for a snack. And not just any snack, a healthy snack with flax oil in it. Here's how I put it together. Really simple. Big splash of orange juice. Some frozen berries of some kind. And frozen blueberries help thicken up the smoothie. There we go. And, oh yeah, to thicken it up, a banana. And it goes. And a healthy splash of flax oil. Flax oil is loaded with omega-3 fatty acids, the same fatty acids that makes fish so healthy. Omega-3 fatty acids are good for your heart, for your brain, for just about everything in your body. They're the reason that flax oil is simply one of the healthiest possible things you can eat. Now, it's important to note that when you heat flaxseed oil, you do lose many of its healthy qualities. Better to serve it cold in something like a smoothie. Boy, does that taste comfortable. Now, what about the rest of the meal? I've got that chicken brining, but I'm still going to need some more comfort food. Let me see what I have. On a rainy day, nothing warms the house up faster than a roast chicken in the oven. But before I roast the chicken, I always brine it in a simple mixture of water, salt, and sugar. And I brine it for about an hour or so. Now it's really important that the chicken be nice and dry before it goes into the oven. Because if you don't dry it off, all the sugars in the skin won't caramelize and turn that nice golden brown that defines a perfectly roast chicken. I'll set the oven at 350 degrees. There we go. Get it nice and hot before I put the chicken into the oven. Preheat it. And now let me show you how I roast the chicken. For that, I'm going to need some root vegetables, some onions, a couple of parsnips. Let's see what I have in the fridge. Oh, there we go. Some carrots, even some celery. Now, you don't have to use this exact blend of vegetables to roast a chicken. It is good to use root vegetables, though, because root vegetables are hardy vegetables. You know, they spend half their life in the ground, so they can handle the heat of an oven. They're not going to break down into mush sitting under that chicken. On rainy days, I always think of my mom and cooking in the kitchen with her when I was a kid. My mom would let us come into the kitchen and cook with her. And I guess that's when I learned that the kitchen is a fun place. You know, you can have a lot of fun in there. You can play around, you can experiment, you can try different things. She used to let us ruin dinner on a regular basis because, you know, back then I didn't know what caramelization was or how to roast a chicken or anything really. I just knew that the kitchen was a fun place to play around. There we go. A nice bed of aromatic roast vegetables. Just the thing to perch that chicken on while it roasts. Now, to encourage these vegetables to brown and caramelize nicely in the oven, I'm going to add a splash of olive oil to them. Not too much, because the chicken's fat is going to render and fall down on top of the vegetables as well. I'm also going to season them, of course. A little bit of salt and pepper. Now, this could easily head into the oven right now with a chicken perched on top of it. But I've got one more group of flavors I'd like to add to my roast chicken. Something I invented years ago when I was an apprentice chef. Something I call bay spice. It's based on bay leaf, good old friendly aromatic bay leaf, fennel seed, the lovely licorice flavors of fennel seed, and coriander, which has a beautiful citrus flavor to it. Good handful of bay leaves. Big pour of fennel seeds. And lots of coriander seeds. I'm making way more than I'm going to need today, but that's okay. I love having leftovers of my favorite bay spice. Oh, it's such a wonderful blend of warm aromatic flavors. Now, mix that in with the vegetables, and I'll put some on top of the chicken too. Just going to rub that in onto the skin. This is going to add so much flavor to the dish. Now that chicken is ready to go into the oven. Just going to perch it up here on top of those vegetables, and in it goes. Okay, let's get these hands washed off. Now what else am I going to serve with that chicken? Something else comfortable. I know, it's pretty simple actually. Mashed potatoes, of course. Now you can mash just about any potato out there, but my favorite potato for mashing is a Yukon Gold. I just love its golden flesh. When I mash it up, it makes this beautiful, bright colored mashed potatoes. I love these things. Now here's something I want to share with you. The world's finest comfort food. Nothing beats a chocolate chip cookie. Just look at those. It's my mom's recipe. And you know, I've got $30,000 of the finest culinary education money can buy. I've cooked all over the world with some of the finest pastry chefs out there, and I still can't make these as good as my mom's. Mine aren't bad, but mom's always seem to taste better. And they're so simple to make. For chocolate chip cookies that taste like mom's, begin with the dry ingredients: flour, salt, and baking powder. Whisk them together until well combined. Then add cold butter with both brown and white sugar and beat until creamy. Add a touch of corn syrup, an egg, and vanilla, mixing well. Gradually add the flour mixture, stirring to combine, before quickly stirring in the chocolate chips and oatmeal if you choose. Bake at 375 degrees until golden brown, about 10 to 12 minutes. Now that's a cookie. Thanks, Mom. Love these things. Now, for the mashed potatoes. Clean them up good. Now here's how I steam them. With my favorite steamer basket. In it goes. And I'll simply steam these until they're nice and tender. It'll take about, 20 minutes or so, which gives me plenty of time to get working on a sauce to go with that chicken. When it's raining, the best way to put a smile on your family's face is to gather them round a table full of warm comfort food, and of course, a beautifully roasted chicken. Before I roast a chicken, I sometimes brine it like I did today in a simple mixture of water, salt, and sugar. Then I rubbed it with flavorful spices, bay leaf, fennel seed, and coriander, and roasted it on a bed of aromatic root vegetables. A nice Riesling. Here's how I make a really fast sauce. A little dash of butter, some heat in the pan, an onion. I'm going to mince this onion up very, very small because I'm not going to take the time later to strain this sauce. That won't be necessary. That way I won't have all these big chunks of onion floating around my world's fastest pan sauce. And just lightly brown them. Nice and quick. A little bit of brown butter flavor in there. Nothing to it. And as soon as you can really smell those onions, as soon as they light up your kitchen with lots of aroma, then you're ready to add in the white wine. And lots of it. Free pour. Go for it. Don't be afraid. At least a full glass's worth in there. And let's see what else. A little splash of cream. There we go. And some chicken broth too. To make it into a sauce, all I have to do is evaporate all the water, reduce it down, concentrate the flavors. It's an old line cook's trick. It's how you make a sauce in a hurry in a restaurant. A restaurant is set up to make sauces all day long, and there's a good reason for that, because sauces add variety and flavor. Here, one chef makes all the sauces. They're known as the saucier. Smells great, chef. And they often reduce liquids. They usually start with a basic broth like chicken or veal because these have a relatively neutral flavor that can be modified with the addition of all kinds of other strong flavors, things like herbs, spices, or even wines, to then make a beautiful soup or sauce. So what is a sauce? Well, it's basically a thick liquid that tastes great. Now these are thin liquids that taste great. To turn them into sauces, you can use additives, things like flour or different starches, or you can simply evaporate away much of their water, like we're doing here. Along the way, the flavors concentrate and the texture turns into a sauce. The principles here are the same as they are in your kitchen, only here, the pots are a lot bigger. And once it looks thick like a sauce, it's done. It really is that simple. That's how you make a sauce in a hurry. And you don't need 15 years as a saucier to pull off this sauce. Does need just a touch of salt and pepper though. And when you're making a reduction sauce, it's always good to season it at the end. If you season it at the beginning, you're running the risk of making it too salty or too peppery, because remember, the salt and pepper is going to concentrate as well. That turned out great. It's ready to go. I'm just going to turn it off for the moment. I'll heat it up again at the last second. Let's see how these potatoes are doing. It's easy to know when a potato is done. All you got to do is just jab it a little bit. If it feels soft, it's done. Ready to go. Now to finish these off, there's really only one ingredient in my book, and that's quite simply butter and lots of it. Let's get rid of all that steaming water in there. Don't want that in the mashed potatoes. And since I don't have any dishwashers working for me anymore, I'm going to make the mashed potatoes in that pot right there. There's nothing like the flavor of butter and mashed potatoes. Actually, butter tastes best when it's browned. Why not brown this butter, then add the brown butter to the mashed potatoes? I love taking a simple ingredient and transforming it with a simple technique. What's going to happen is this. It's really simple. There's about 10 to 12% water within butter. Now, once that water starts to evaporate out and leaves the butter, the fat that stays behind is then free to continue rising in temperature and brown the sugars that are also present in the butter. And at the last second, there we go, take it, pour it right into something, anything. In this case, the potatoes. You've got to get it off the heat immediately because it will continue to rise and it'll turn black and lose all its beautiful caramelized flavors. These are gonna taste awesome. I can totally smell the butter. All right, brown butter, mashed potatoes, a nice quick sauce. That bird is definitely almost done. It's almost time to start carving it up. Boy, the Riesling in that sauce smells so good. Nice and aromatic. Everything's almost ready to go. I do want to bang out a quick green vegetable though before dinner starts. And here's how I make the fastest broccoli in the world. Here I've got a little splash of olive oil, one single clove of garlic that's been sliced up, a splash of water, add a lid and turn up the heat. Let's see how that chicken is. That chicken is definitely done. But just to be sure, I'm going to double check with my thermometer. I'm looking for 160 degrees. 160, it's done, but I better check those legs too. I'm also looking for a temperature of about 165 degrees in the leg, and they're done too. I know sometimes this seems to be the toughest part of all when you roast a chicken. Believe me, I take the really easy way. I start by taking the breasts right off. Nothing could be easier than this method. Basically what I'm going to do is just chunk this meat up and stir it into these roast root vegetables down underneath. It's going to be beautiful. Just simply let your knife just cruise right down that rib cage. Off comes that breast. Works every time. I know this looks messy, but that's the point. It's just a roast chicken. I'm just trying to get all the bones out of here, that's all. Okay, that's all set to go. Let me just throw some parsley into this sauce. Just add a little bit of color to it. And it's time to serve family style. This is not the kind of meal that I would plate. Oh, that broccoli steamed up nice. And the best part about the broccoli is the flavor of the garlic. You get all the aroma of the garlic permeating the broccoli, but because you're not actually eating the garlic, you don't get the pungency of it. It's perfect, perfect match. Broccoli. See how those mashed potatoes turned out? Very nice. And now for the best part of all, a taste. Oh, yeah. Oh, nice and aromatic. Beautifully seasoned. It's not salty at all. That's what I call comfort food. And there's not a recipe in sight. And that's the essence of comfort food. Simplicity. Simple ingredients. Simple to prepare. Simple to enjoy. It's food that just makes you feel good. Food that can take a rainy day and turn it into a sunny day. It's how you build memories around the table. I brined it.
Oh, you did?
I did. I had the time to soak it for an hour.
Really tender.
Juicy all at the same
yeah,
time.
it's really nice.
You know what happened? As soon as I got in the kitchen, Daddy, and started cooking, I forgot all about the rain.
It always does with a good roast chicken dinner.
What food do you remember your mom cooking?
Roast beef dinners.
And all these years later, you still remember.
Oh, yeah.
It never goes away, does it?
No. No, and it was always the dreary days, like rainy days. And...
Cheers. Should break some wine out.